It, Welcome to Derry, has been an interesting social experiment for a horror TV show. There are other TV shows within the horror genre. Noticeable mentions are From, Walking Dead, before it butchered the heart of the show and then butchered its own writing, X-Files, Twilight Zone, and so on. But these shows commonly rely upon a secondary genre to maintain viewership. Additionally, most shows don't fully commit to the bit, teetering the line between thriller and horror as seen with From, and the ones that have, like American Horror Story, are an anthology series, where each season is a self-contained story. Then arrived It, Welcome to Derry, a TV series set before the events of the original movies, centered around the parents of the main characters in the movies and dipping their toes into other stories from the Stephen King catalog, promising to double down upon the true horror of It. With my favorite season of the year around the corner and the anniversary of the show coming up in a month, what better time than now to revisit the series and discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly. Welcome to Derry has a golden opening, swiftly introducing important characters, timeline, location, and the catalyst for the events in the rest of the show, Maddie Clements. Maddie Clements has snuck into a screening of 1962's Musical Man at the local theater. He's caught by a theater employee and hides while the show reveals two other important characters, Ronnie Grogan and her father, Hank Grogan. The following scene establishes the personalities and moral standards of Ronnie and Hank, willing to bend the rules and defy authority from a place of compassion, before Maddie escapes from the theater and catches a ride from a family headed to Portland. Everything about the car scene and the first kill is near perfection. The close-knit family consists of a loving mother, gentle father, dutiful daughter, and cheerful son, a family that is the exact opposite of Maddie's. The echoing chorus behind the nuclear family is a radio warning about possible nuclear annihilation, a common fear during the 1960s following the end of World War II, alongside the belief of a possible Third World War, and nuggets of foreshadowing ring aloud as the radio spokesman mentions birth defects. Our backdrop is a snowy gray sky, almost something one would expect to symbolize the start of a beautiful beginning, a new chapter for Maddie. But the cracks in this perfect family begins with the daughter pulling out a tub of liver. The container is just as disgusting as it was on my first watch. The practical effects department really ensured the slime coating the lid of the container was as despicable as possible, and the actress's ability to physically dig her fingers around in the meat is borderline grotesque, especially once she sticks those fingers into poor Maddie's face and you can almost smell it. The psychological impact the visuals triggering the good old olfactory senses serves as the foundation for a terrifying scene where Maddie begins suspecting that something is wrong with this family. The mother comments upon her daughter being a harlot, to which the father merely laughs, and Maddie has the stomach-dropping realization that the car is not headed for Portland. He asks them to pull over, trying to come up with a clever question that get him out of the car, only for the father to turn up the radio and silence him, while the mother has her son spell necrosis, kidnapping, maggots, cadaver, strangulation, each word notching up Maddie's panic. He ends up pounding on the door and begging to be released right before one of the grossest birthing scenes that has ever occurred in television. The mother's stomach descends and expands as the creature inside pushes out, giving birth to a deformed, demon-like baby, harkening back to radiation and birth defects. The fake legs and body rigs used for this scene, plus the polished editing, has the birth looking more than realistic. While it cannot be shown on YouTube, I doubt many viewers would even realize the actress's legs are fake, and the copious amount of practical goo and blood had me wide-eyed in surprise. The newly born abomination hides in the shadows before popping out in a good old-fashioned jump scare and flies around the car, still attached to mother by the placenta. Maddie gives up, closing his eyes and cowering in the corner, and everyone in the car stops to look at him. It is a great visual of its goal behind the chaos. Without fear, there's no point in continuing the charade, and since Maddie is soothing himself with the pacifier, receding his level of fear, it has no reason to keep him alive. The demon baby flies straight through his head, and Maddie's pacifier falls into the water. There is only one small nitpick I have with this scene, and that is the design of the baby. The tumor and fatty lumps on the arms and legs are nice, and the double heads are cool, especially when the smaller one has actual human-esque eyes and the main head is eyeless, but something about the CGI takes me out of the scene, specifically when the fleshy wings are moving. Although a physical baby puppet is confirmed to be used on set, the visual effects department might have gone overboard with touching it up with CGI because when it moves, there is a certain off quality about it. Like it doesn't physically take up space, which is weird because a physical object was used. Other than that, the opening scene is as close to perfection as one could get for this type of show. The opening returns to some of the more baseline powers of it from the novel. It's a bit hard to correctly differentiate the differences between it movie's powers and it novel powers, but the best way I can put it is that it does not merely manifest a person's worst fear, like creating spiders for a person with arachnophobia. Ultimately, its goal is to create a scenario that produces the biggest emotional response possible because that is what it consumes. And to do that, it brings to life a person's worst reality, confirming their inward insecurities and irrational fears, and the car scene is a great example of that difference. This whole scene is the confirmation of Maddie's worst reality and the dissolution of any possible hope for this character. Although the character Maddie is mostly viewed or discussed through other people's eyes, giving us a biased perception of him, we can put together that he grew up in an abusive household. Maddie probably grew up idolizing other families, dreaming about parents that treasured and loved their children, and one of the biggest fears for a person stuck in an abusive situation or household is the thought that this is all that will ever be. You are trapped with your abuser and you will never have the means or opportunity to escape it. It took Maddie's dream, his fear of being unable to escape from his house and this town, and the other more common worries of that time, nuclear war, birth mutations, increased sexual behavior among younger teens, alongside a demon-like baby that could connect to his emotional dependence upon a pacifier to self-soothe, and features stemming from religious paranoia over demonic influence, and it has successfully created Maddie's personal hell. The car is the confirmation that there is no escape from Derry for Maddie. There are no happy and healthy families. His own abusive home is not an exception, as Maddie so desperately wanted to believe, but it's the standard. And the dichotomy in lighting is wonderful. The bright, warm orange glow of the theater fades into gray-white tones while in the car, only to return to that orange once the family begins acting weird. It's a good method to represent the transition between reality and an illusion, truth and the lie. The orange glow is that of the real world, a saturated and vibrant truth, while the gray light of a happy family is a lie, that illusion transforming back to orange when the veil is lifted to expose the truth. The show manages to fit all of this within the first 10 minutes, setting up the gross and terrifying stakes and grabbing audiences' attention, certainly wheedling out the ones the show was not made for. The character of Maddie Clements is understood within our first introduction of meeting him, and his tragic death will serve as a foundation for everything that comes next. The scene after the intro gives us Leroy Hanlon and Polly Russo. These Air Force officers are new arrivals to the Derry Air Force Base, and their tour around the base grants further insight into the mindsets around that time, as well as mentioning the rumored special projects which will be important later. Dreamer by Lovely Joyce Harris guides us from Air Base to the local high school of Derry. Fun fact, the 1960s saw the first introduction of synthetic fibers to the market, meaning that the first blends of synthetic weave birthed a heavier and thicker fabric than the synthetic clothing we are familiar with today. While clothing production has greatly improved in some areas and terribly worsened in others, don't get me started on the large-scale tailoring problem the country has, that also means even when modern clothing has the style or cut of 1960s wear, it is still far too soft and light because the materials are inherently wrong. Obviously, this problem will be overlooked because what matters is that the props, set design, and wardrobe are good enough to establish the proper time, place, and atmosphere, not that it is historically correct down to the very stitch. And for most scenes, Welcome to Derry hits the mark with the look of the 1960s. But the cheerful and colorful atmosphere is quickly ruined by pickles falling from a locker. Lily Bainbridge is the unfortunate receiver of the shattered pickle juice. This feels like a weird and annoying prank, but later on in this episode, we shall learn that it's awfully cruel. Her friend Marge pops in to help her, cheering Lily up before the girls head to class, walking past Teddy and Phil. The boys are gossiping about conspiracy theories surrounding the airbase, which the show then switches back to where Polly and Hanlon meet the 70th Squadron, and the two men receive less than a warm welcome. Back with Teddy and Phil, their personalities are beginning to take shape. Teddy just wants to study, while Phil ogles the neighbor through the window, and we learn that it has been 4 months since Maddie has gone missing. The boys harbor guilt, thinking that missing his birthday party might have led to his disappearance, but they are not the only ones feeling guilty. A flashback with Lily reveals that her and Maddie were friends before his disappearance. She confided in Maddie the details of her father's death, which also explains the pickle jar prank. Her father worked in a jarring factory and found his place on live leak with an unfortunately timed jammed machine. Lily blames herself for her father's death because she had asked him to go back inside the factory to retrieve her toy, which led to him hearing about the machine error and attempting to fix it. Again, the pickle jars in real life, awful prank. It is a little funny. Maddie and Lily are distracted by fireworks near the tower, and Maddie chooses the worst time to make a move. Word of advice: when a person just divulged the brutal death of their father, this is not the time to confess. Embarrassed, Matt leaves and the flashback ends, leaving Lily alone in the bathroom. The following conversation with Lily and her mother is really good. Although not many words are exchanged, the actress playing her mother balances between being Lily's mom and secretly holding a grudge against her daughter with subtle face shifts and tense body language. And Lily's actress, Clara Stark, will probably begin appearing in other things based upon her performance in this show. Once her mother leaves, Lily starts hearing Maddie singing. His voice is coming from a drain pipe before a bloodied finger pops out. Lily confides in Marge the next day about the finger, but with a reputation like Loony Lily, Marge does not believe her. The writers did a great job with Marge's character as a teenager, making her frustrating but understandable. Marge is in an awkward position, trying to be a good friend to Lily while also surviving the hellscape that is high school, and Lily turns to Phil and Teddy instead. Although Phil is inclined to believe Loony Lily has finally lost her marbles, Teddy offers a more nuanced perspective on the situation, providing a good contrast to his more headstrong, brash friend. A brief conversation occurs at the base, simply setting down more character development before returning to Teddy's house. He asks his father about keeping a person in the sewers, who has a not so good reaction to the question coming from a Jewish man still reeling from the horrors of World War II, and blames Teddy's imagination on his comics. The 1960s variant of video games cause violence. Later that night, Teddy is spooked by a lampshade sewn from human skin, referencing something his dad said, and soon him, Phil, and Lily meet back up, and all three are on board the weird happenings train. Lily's worried telling their parents might have them sent to Juniper Hills Asylum, so the three of them and Phil's sister visit the library to find the newspaper with more details on Maddie's disappearance. The four of them discover the theater and meet Ronnie from the beginning of the episode. Although Ronnie is angered by their questions because her father was the prime suspect for Maddie's disappearance, once hearing about the song, Ronnie admits she has been hearing the same thing. Back at the base, Hamlin is attacked in the middle of the night by masked men who want information about the base. Polly comes to his aid because W wingman, and at the same time, the children have snuck into the theater to watch The Music Man. The scene in the theater is one of my favorites, if not the favorite scene in the entire series. Maddie and the family from the car appear on screen, and the children freak out. Maddie begins reacting to them, and the children call for him to come closer before the lights start flickering, and Maddie goes full spooky mode, launching the baby from his arms at the children and beginning the theater massacre. The demon baby looks much better than his first appearance. The movements carry a more physical presence and weight, and the camera work is split between following Lily and her actual perspective of the slaughter, creating a visually entertaining and frantic pace carried onward by flickering lights and screaming. Clara Stark deserves an award for her acting, definitely one of the stronger child actors in this show and a solid scream queen. Once the others are gone, Lily escapes from the theater with Ronnie's help, and the final reveal of Lily still holding on to a detached hand before screaming is a brilliant ending. The marketing in first episode of Welcome to Derry is a major bait and switch. I personally am a huge fan of this, where a show gets you attached to a character before brutally killing them. Think the first Scream movie. But a bait and switch can be a huge risk if 1, the audience becomes a little too attached, or 2, the characters introduced later on as our new main characters are not as endearing or interesting. I'll wait until later on in the series to further break this down, but I think Welcome to Derry might have made a mistake in the first episode, committing the cardinal sin of serving the best first. In their defense, the pacing of a TV show does differ from the pacing of a movie. A movie can wait to pull their punches until the end because a shorter runtime means people will wait, but a TV show needs to start off swinging, and Welcome to Derry threw a heck of an uppercut with the kill of Maddie Clements, but the theater scene might have gone a step too far. The theater scene got me so excited for the next episode, only for the rest of the series not to fully match my expectations, but that is a conversation for later. There are a lot of fun Easter eggs sprinkled throughout the first episode. Maddie Clements is actually a minor character in the original It novel, although he is very different. In the novel, Maddie was a young toddler murdered by it around 1958 and was an important plot device because his death introduced the establishment of a town curfew. In the TV show, Maddie goes missing in 1962 and was born years before his book counterpart, an example of a good adaptation from a novel, taking a minor character that does hold importance and modifying it slightly to better fit within the story of the show without detracting or demonizing the original. And the more I think about it, the pacifier is probably a callback to his younger book counterpart. Juniper Hill Asylum, mentioned by Lily and a location we shall see later on, is a major fixture in the Stephen King novels, appearing in around 10 different books. Lily also wears a turtle charm in the flashback with Maddie, a reference to Moderin, and the finger in the drain is a reference to Stephen King's short story The Moving Finger, which, as one might guess, is about a finger growing out of a bathroom drain. Overall, the pilot episode knocks it out of the park with solid pacing, good actors, and great terror scenes that might occasionally lean too far into CGI, but is reeled back in with plenty of practical effects to pique your interest. The episode is a solid 8 out of 10, which IMDb agrees upon with a 7.9 out of 10, and if It Welcome to Derry can hold on to this tone of the first episode and consistently deliver the same spooks of the pilot, the rest of the show should cinch itself in the annals of horror history. Alongside my usual video commentary and Way Back Wednesday, I wanted to try something a little bit different. If you like this type of content, please let me know in the comments and consider joining the Freak for Freak family. Thank you so much for watching my Freaky Freaks, and remember,
I'll think of you when I'm not here, 'cause thinking of people makes them seem near. The friends who know you love you cheerfully. I do too.